Welcome everyone as you join. We have about 2 minutes until we begin, so we'll give everyone just a couple more minutes to join us. Again, you're welcome to answer our e-polls while we wait, helping you reflect on your experience in the electronic village and in TESOL in general, and your comfort levels and what you've learned about educational technology over the last couple of days. The link is there for you in the chat, and we'll begin in 1 minute. All right, well, welcome teachers. We are very happy to have you here for today's first Let's Learn Live session, part of the TESOL 2022 Computer Assisted Language Learning Intersection Electronic Village. We hope you've been enjoying events in the electronic, or EV as we like to call it, as well as in the convention as a whole if you are participating. So first up today, I'm very pleased to introduce our presenter from Sri Lanka, Mayuri Suriyampola, and she also has some of her teacher students with her as well. And they are going to be talking about designing ELT lessons for teaching poems using 21st century skills. And Mayuri says that handling poems in the ELT classroom and incorporating 21st century skills is a challenging task for pre-service teachers. So she is going to be talking about enhancing student teachers' ability to develop these skills with loop input, designing lessons to teach poems in the ELT classroom using Zoom and Padlet. Should be very interesting. Mayuri and friends, you are welcome to turn on your cameras. We are recording this session. It is optional, apart from the presenter, to have your camera on, and just be aware that we are indeed recording. Please do keep your microphones muted until the question and answer towards the end of the session, but feel free to ask questions in the chat at any time. So I will turn things over to Mayuri. Welcome.
Hi there. I'm having a little problem with my video because it's not switching on. It says Zoom is unable to detect.
It's up to you, Mayuri. You're welcome to continue with just voice and your presentation, if you like, and screen sharing. But we can hear you. We can hear you very well.
Okay, right. Good evening, everybody. We are from Sri Lanka, and I'm an ELT lecturer. And these are two of my student teachers who are doing their internship at schools. We expect to give you a session on using poems in the ELT classroom with the 21st century learning skills: creativity, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. We also be using a lot of technology with some Zoom applications. We would be giving you several tips about handling poems in ELT class while following the format of the lessons we use in Sri Lankan English language lessons. We would really appreciate your support and cooperation in providing us with your suggestions, and we hope to do a write-up later, putting all these ideas together. I now invite Sangeeta to start the session with her setting the scene and presentation. Sangeeta, over to you.
Hello everyone, I'm Sangeeta. So I'm going to present, here I'm going to talk about the setting the scene and the presentation part of the lesson. So at first, I will let you to listen some audio clips as the setting the scene. So try out whether you can find out who are the animals there. So I hope everyone can hear me properly. So I'll share the screen to you. I hope everyone can hear it properly. Can all of you? Can all of you hear me properly?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay, then I will play the second audio clip. Then try to find out, try to figure it out. What is the sound about? I will play the second one as well. Now it's time for the third one. Okay, I think all of you were able to hear that sounds. There I played 3 audio clips. So in a classroom, as the set in the scene, if we are playing like this, so the first one they have to identify, or they have to identify what are these sounds about. The first one, I appreciate if you are giving me the answers through chat box. Is there anyone who can give me an answer? Yeah, the first, second, and third audio clips, what are they about? The first one, any guesses? Yeah, river and birds. And the second one, if you need to play it again, please say that thing also. Birds, yeah. What else? We played 3 audio clips there. Second one, yeah, birds chirping there. So in the classroom as well, for the set in the scene, if we are giving them these kinds of audio clips, then effectively we can get the support of the students from the beginning of the lesson. So unless playing a video, rather than playing a video, so we think it's very much effective to get the support of the students from the beginning of the lesson. So that's why we played a kind of a audio clip. And then this is also one option that we can do in the setting the scene of a lesson. So playing an audio clip and asking them to find out what is this sound about, or identify the sounds. As the second option, we can play a video as well. So the first one we played an audio. So the second one is playing a video clip. So that is also very much nice. So we'll do like this one. Okay, I hope all of you were able to watch that thing. So in that videos, that is the second method or the option that we can use. So the first one is about giving an audio clips and we are asking them to identify what is the sound about. And the second one, it's we are playing them a video clip with the picture clues. So it's somewhat easier than the first one. In the first one, they have to use their critical thinking, and in the video clip, like we are providing them a picture clues with the sounds. So it depends on the teacher and it depends on the students as well. So how they are performing in the class. For the setting the scene, that is the second method that we can use for since this is kind of a poem about the leisure. So in that poem, it includes about the sounds of the nature and the animals which are in the environment. So here we included several pictures with the sounds as well. So as the third option or third method for the set in the scene, I'll share that thing as well. So the first one is giving the audio clips and the second one is providing them a video clip. And the third one is that it's somewhat kind of providing them a link, which is a jigsaw puzzle. So if we are doing a lesson through online, through a Zoom or something else, or if we are in the physical class, so if you are doing it online, then you can share the link to them through the chat box, or else if you are doing the lesson physically, you can use the link and you can play that jigsaw puzzle with the students itself. So here I would like to share this link to all of you. I will share the link to the chat box. I have already sent it. You can play it. You can click on the link and you can play it. And so this is it. I'm really sorry we can't upload the jigsaw puzzle there, but I think if you try, yeah. So yeah, since it's kind of we are having kind of a connection issue, so you can play. Yeah, since I have sent it to the chat box, you can play it. So in the classroom also we can. If we are in a physical classroom, the teacher, she can place that jigsaw puzzle one with the student itself, or else if we are doing an online class, so she or he can share the link to the students through this chat box. And the next one is, so yeah, thank you for sharing this one. So this is it. So the next one is, first we were talking about the audio clips, and the second sharing a video clip, and the third one is giving them a link. It's about a jigsaw puzzle. So the next one, we will see what it is. Okay, so okay, so these three activities, so they are, we have prepared these three activities for the setting the scene part. So using these three activities or the options, the teacher can get the effective support of the students to the lesson from the beginning of the lesson itself. So now we will move to the presentation part. So here, I would like to ask you, you can share your ideas or the answers through chat box. So would you be able to identify what is this animal? The first one. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a cow there. So the second one, what is it about? Yeah. And the third one. Yeah. Yeah. So the first one is cow, the second one is sheep, and finally the third one is squirrel. So giving them a picture clue. So here we have given them only a part of that body. So we haven't given them the whole body of that particular animal. So we have given them a part. So for this activity, since this is the presentation part, so using this activity as well, we can let them think. Their critical thinking is like they can critically think and identify that animal, what it is, not only about the animals, whatever the lesson that you are going to do, then according to the lesson you can use this kind of picture clues, which will really support them to engage in the lesson as well. Because if we give the full picture, then like it's not something kind of getting very interactive. If we are giving this kind of a half of a picture, then they use their mind and they think, and their critical thinking also getting, they think a lot. So using this type of activity as well, then we can do a kind of a presentation in a lesson. So not only giving the picture of this type of a picture, we can ask some questions after presenting, after giving these pictures. We can ask them some questions as well, like so after identifying this cow, then the teacher can ask not after, before identify, she can present this picture, and she can give the clues as well, like it's kind of that this animal it likes to have the grass, or that we can have the milk, and it has 4 legs, something like that, which really relates to that particular animal. So for this one also, for the sheep also, it has fur, it is in kind of it has fur or something really relate to that animal, or relate to that animal. So the third one is squirrel also. So we can give them clues, and then through the by providing the pictures and as well as providing the clues as well, then we can get the support of the students for the presentation part. So finally, for the presentation part, since this is the yeah, so here in this presentation we have selected to talk about a poem, how to teach a poem in a classroom. So this is a poem, it's about leisure. So first, in the setting the scene also, we gave them some kind of audio clips, videos, and we gave them a link. So from the beginning of the lesson, that we are getting them engaged in the in this poem. So this one in the presentation part also, so we can provide them the poem, and as well as, or else we can give them we can read this poem live, or we can record it, or we can play it, that poem also. And another thing as well, we can play that recorded poem while we are showing them this poem also. And then we can ask them questions, and then we can get them interacted with the lesson. So now I will hand over my friend to continue with the presentation.
Yeah, it will be Ishara to do her practice stage of the lesson.
Hi everyone, I'm Shara. I'm here to talk about the practice stage of the lesson. The most important stage of a lesson is the practice stage. The things that are presented at the presentation stage should be practiced in this stage. Especially the stage is a student-centered pace. Teacher acts as only the facilitator of the lesson. So we teach poems in the language classrooms. We can't do the practical things in the online classroom. So we are going to present 2 suggestions for to do the practice stage, and we can send them to the breakout rooms, and we can practice the collaboration which is belong to the 21st century skills. And our first suggestion is to practice with the rhyming words, and we have given the poem already in the presentation. Then we give a chance to practice with the rhyming words to the students. And our second suggestion is to give a practice with the recitation. This will help students to practice with the pronunciation, reciting meaningfully, and voice modulations and intonations. So these are suggestions for our practice stage, and you can see the poem over the screen. I would like to hear if somebody can recite the poem, we would like to hear that.
I'll do it, I guess. So poem's called Leisure.
If there is anyone interested, you can use this raise hand option. So we will give them the chance.
We have a volunteer. I believe Sarah said she is willing to be our brave poem reciter.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So anyway, the poem's called Leisure by Wa Davies. What is this life full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. No time to see in broad daylight streams full of starts like skies at night. No time to glance at beauty's glance and watch her feet how they can dance. No time to wait until her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare.
Thank you very much.
Shall we move on to the production stage? We have some more.
No.
Okay.
These are the 2 suggestions we made for the practice stage. Now we'll move to the production stage, and we'll see the suggestions there.
Right. Thank you, Ishara. Now it is the production stage. Here you can make use of creativity of students and get them to arrange the poem into different shapes. So we can provide them with some of these shapes if they like to use them, or they can use their own shapes from taken, of course, from the nature. So what they would do is the same poem, the content can be put into these shapes so that it will take the shape of these particular elements of nature. So it can be mountains, streams, figures of animals, leaves, that sort of things. So the next thing is providing them with additional stanzas and stanzas written about the poem, and asking them to fill it up with. Now first we will not be giving them the words that would come for the blanks, but we would ask them to use their critical thinking, their creativity, and then fill it up. So if they find it challenging, of course we would provide them with the words also. Yeah. So these are the kind of things that we have thought of in presenting a poem in the ELT class. And also we would provide them with some, we would ask them to go for an extended work with this, this kind of additional stanzas. We can ask them to be more creative and add their own stanzas to the poem. Not while they are in the class, but when they go out of the class, they can of course think of the additional stanzas with their experience of nature. They can try to have some more stanzas added up to the poem. So these are the things that we have thought of in making the poem used in the ELT class. And we hope you have enjoyed the presentation. And we would really appreciate if you can forward your suggestions to add your techniques, add other techniques, so that we can think of them and add them to the lesson and do our write-up at the end. So it's over to you for the questions if you have any, and we would be more than happy to answer them.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Mayuri, and your student teaching colleagues for this idea for multimodal ways to engage students with poetry online. And I could see also many of these ideas translating to a face-to-face or hybrid classroom setting as well. So audience, do you have any questions that you would like to share via the chat or with your microphone, or as Mayuri said, maybe some ideas that came to your mind as you saw what they presented today? There are a lot of thank yous and great idea comments coming in through the chat, so thank you for those. Let's see, Minerva says, very engaging preparatory and extension activity for poetry writing. I agree, thank you. I have a question for you all. What level students have you tried these techniques with?
Tried it out with grade 11. That is, I think, 15 to 16 years old.
And how did the students react? Did they enjoy getting their listening senses and their visual senses engaged as part of the poetry interpretation?
Yeah, I think they have enjoyed the jigsaw thing.
Yeah.
Mainly the jigsaw thing, because it really motivates them to because they were really curious, like what kind of thing comes out of it. So it's the one that we have found to make them really engaged in the lesson.
Lovely. I can see that that would appeal to hands-on learners, and being able to do that online would be novel for many and a lot of fun. And again, lots of nice feedback and some suggestions coming in. Kathleen Fernandez in the chat is saying online you can find modern poets reading their own works aloud and students enjoy hearing the author read. Yeah, I can imagine that. Thanks for sharing that, Kathleen. Let's see, I see a hand raised with Muhammad, please. Would you like to share your question? You're welcome to turn your microphone on and ask.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, I wanted to ask something. I work with young learners, right? So sometimes they can't seem to get ideas about the rhyming words. So is there any technique that we can generate some ideas in their mind about the rhyming words?
Great question. Thanks, Mayuri. Did you have any suggestions?
With the rhyming words, you mean? Suggestion like how we can help them in getting the rhyming words. Yeah, we thought of giving them one or two examples and then encourage them to come out with any other words that they know of. And if they find it challenging, we thought of giving them a series of words with rhyming and not rhyming. So they can pick and choose and see whether they can get hold of the words that really rhyme with the ones that appear in the poem.
That's a good suggestion. Yeah, that poem example you said, I did giggle a little bit about how tricky English can be with rhyming words for the words bows and cows. The fact that those words rhyme is just a testament to the twists and turns to the history of English and how we end up with some of the crazy pronunciations that we must help our students work with. So, well, we are out of time for this session, but thank you so much for joining us, Mayuri, for those ideas and your students. We enjoyed your presentation and ideas very much. And thank you for working through some of the connectivity challenges I know that you have been facing and that many of us face on a daily basis. So thanks for what you do. All right. Well, we appreciate your attendance at this Let's Learn Live session. We'll go ahead and pause here for a moment as we get ready for our next session. And I will put that link to in the chat again, just so you are able, if you would like to participate in today's Mentimeter polls, which are part of the Electronic Village here at TESOL 2022. That's a mouthful. All right, so we'll pause for just a moment while we get our next presenter set up. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thanks. And Jennifer, it looks like you are here and you have become a co-host. We can see you. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Is my mic working? Can you hear me as well?
Yes, your microphone is working. And if you don't mind muting for just a moment, I'll
Sure.
get your session introduced and give you the screen sharing ability.
Okay, great.
There we go. All right. Well, welcome everyone, and welcome back to those of you who are still here from our first Let's Learn Live session today here in TESOL 2022's Electronic Village, brought to you by the Computer Assisted Language Learning Interest section. We are excited to welcome our next presenter, who is joining us from Turkey, I believe. Is that correct? Yes. Jennifer Lacano, and she's going to be presenting Google Jamboard for collaborative communicative group work with synchronous monitoring. And she is going to be talking about and sharing some practical strategies and ideas for using Jamboard in online classes for group work. That's going to inspire student creativity and critical thinking, and also allow for real-time monitoring of work. And she hopes that you all are going to leave with some knowledge of how to set up a Jamboard activity and several time-saving strategies. That is something I always appreciate, Jennifer. So welcome. I will turn things over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I am going to share my screen. I'm actually going to share my full desktop, which might be a no-no in most cases, but I do have a reason for that. I'm going to be going back and forth between some different applications. Sorry, let me minimize this one. As Heather mentioned, this is the title of my session, but it's quite a mouthful. I tried to make it descriptive so people would understand what we were doing, but I prefer to call this session Jammin' with Jamboard. So I do have a quick question for you guys. Let me see if I can find the chat. Here we go. If you can join this Mentimeter. Here it is. Let's see. All right, here is the QR code if that's easier for you. I just want to find out a little bit about your experience already with Jamboard, if you have any. So I've got a few questions here. Great, let me take a look here. Excellent. Okay, so it looks like a lot of you already know how to do many things, which is great. So some of the stuff that I'm sharing with you might seem a little bit basic, but I hope that you can still get a few tips that you can take away from this session. All right. So I know there are definitely some of you who it looks like you haven't used Jamboard before, so hopefully you'll learn a lot in this session as well. All right. I'm actually going to close the chat for now. So thank you very much for your feedback on this, and let's go ahead because 20 minutes is not a lot of time, I've realized. So here are the things that I want to go over today, just some Jamboard basics and some time-saving tips. And I'm going to be looking at those and sharing my ideas for those in the context of more controlled practice, the kind of things that we might have done as a worksheet in our face-to-face lessons. Then I'm going to share with you some ways that I've found to do monitoring and synchronous feedback. And I will share with you those ideas as I've used them in more free practice, okay? And then some ideas for after the jam, after your class session. And then we'll have some time for questions at the end. If you do have questions throughout, you can ask them. I can't have my chat window open all the time since I'm sharing my full screen, but I will try to, I'll try to get to your questions if I am able.
I'll collect questions for you too, Jen.
Great, thank you so much, Heather. So what is Jamboard? Just basically, it's a digital interactive whiteboard, and it's from the Google suite of applications. So you will need to have a Google account in order to use Jamboard, but your students will not. You can share it with them even if they don't have a Google account. And it can be used for a range of activities from controlled practice to much freer practice. So one of the reasons I started doing this, I kind of taught myself, you know, using Google, YouTube, looking at what other people had done before, because when I was in the online space with my students, I missed those opportunities for them to do collaborative work on something like a worksheet, for example, or creating a project together. I found that hard to do in our Blackboard online sessions. And I think that Jamboard is one excellent tool that we can use to do the same kinds of things we used to do in a face-to-face classroom, and maybe even take it beyond that, right? Get more creative as well. So let me show you. Here is a basic jam. That's what they call it. So if you were to go to Jamboard, just for those of you who maybe haven't used it before, to create a new one, you can click on the plus sign here. But I will be using ones that I've already set up. So here is our basic jam. What I've found is that Jamboard doesn't have the same kind of functionality that you would find in, let's say, Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint in terms of editing text, in terms of copying text and copying items. So I hope that the shortcuts, the tips that I share with you today will help get around some of that, let's say, reduced functionality in Jamboard. So let's say you have a worksheet that you want the students to work on in your online class, and you want them to work in groups, right? So you need multiple copies, for example. So what I would usually do is throw the text into Word, edit it the way I needed to in Word, and then copy it over into Jamboard. So let me show you how you can do that. So now I've got the text on my clipboard. This is the text box tool. You can click on that. And then there's a problem, right? You can't see it, okay? There is not a way to adjust the font. There's not like a font size changer. So the way you do that is to adjust the size of the text box. This one adjusts the shape on the sides here. If you click on this corner, click and drag, it adjusts the size. All right, and then you can just click on it as long as you're on the arrow tool. Let's say I want to make this wider. All right, so now I've got my worksheet in a Jamboard. One of the things I've found is that students sometimes when they're working on the Jamboard, here's another example, is that when they click on things, they might accidentally move them. And that can create problems for other students working on the same Jamboard. Command Z on a Macintosh does work as an undo, or this button here also works as an undo function. This is what I'm calling protecting the original text. The way you can do that is to do a screen grab or a screenshot, and then set it as the background. So on a Macintosh, I use Command Shift 5. If you're on a Windows machine, you might be able to use the snipping tool. That's what I use at my office on campus. And you can then do New. I love this feature of Jamboard. It's a laser pointer. It disappears. So you can click on New here, and then this is for copy. Okay, so let me show you. Let me go back to my first page, and I will do my screen grab of just this slide, let's say, calling it a slide. So this is the text I want to have on my new Jamboard that I want the students to be able to use but not change. So I do my screen capture, sorry, and then on a new page, oops, I can set the background. So now my screen capture, I'm using my image, finding it. They always save to my desktop on my computer. So here's the screenshot. Double click and insert that. So now students cannot change this. They can add things like the answers, right? They were, whoops, waiting. Okay, and if you need to adjust the size, you can click there. Just so you know, this one changes the orientation, and this one has some other functions. Now, one of the time-saving tips I've found is that if I want to create this for multiple groups, especially if it's something that's taken a long time to set up. This one, for example, could be done with vocabulary, where the students will move things. But it took a while to set up, right? I had to do each of these separately. So I don't want to have to do that for every group. So a quick way to copy a page, duplicate a page, is to click here on the expand frame bar, and then you click on the kebab menu, and it says duplicate. right? So now I have 2 of the same page and I don't have to create all these individual text boxes again. Right, so again, that was expand frame bar. Click here on the kebab menu, which sometimes doesn't like to cooperate, but that's where you would find the duplicate function. There we go. Right, let me share with you a different Jamboard. This one is an unscramble activity. So I know a lot of my students might have linguistic skills or linguistic intelligence, but maybe not the spatial intelligence to be able to do unscramble activities without seeing things in the new order, right? So here they can manipulate the different sentences or the different words. This is elementary level. This one here was a more upper intermediate level where they're working on essay introductions. But again, it took a long time to set up all of these text boxes, all the different sentences and words. So that's when the duplicate function can be really helpful. Another way or another thing that I've done, because I use some of the same tools, some of the same jams with multiple groups, I like to duplicate my entire jams. So to do that, you can click here, again, the kebab menu, and make a copy. So now I have a copy of this jam. So this way I don't have to reset my entire jam if I'm going to use it with a different class, or maybe I'll use it next semester or next year. I can keep an original copy and then I don't have to move everything back after my students have played with it. So one thing to always remember is to make sure you grant access to your students. You can do that by clicking on the share button. And then here where it says get link, change to anyone with the link. Make sure it's set to editor. Okay, and then you could copy the link. And I am going to share that with you in a little bit. And you can share it with your students in your online space. Another thing that I've done sometimes is to create an answer key, which I can then upload quickly as a background. So I'll create the answer key, do the screen grab, and then I can set it as my background. So this one is actually for my previous Jamboard that I shared with you, but you'll be able to see all the answers in just a second. Okay, so maybe we don't have time in class to go over all of the answers, but you can set it up this way. One other function that I like to use is the sticky notes tool to set different groups. So maybe this is group 1's page. Okay, so I tell them go to the page for your group and work together. I would use this in conjunction with breakout rooms so that they could do the work on the activities together in a smaller group. So the monitoring and feedback. There is a way to see who's in the room, or let's say how many people are on the jam with you. Once you share the link with your students, you'll see different people pop up here. And I'll show you that when I share the jams with you. Let me share with you this one. So quicker navigation, if you want to go from page to page instead of going one at a time, which can be very slow. Again, use the expand frame bar, and then I could jump from page 2 to page 4 to 6. It's a little quicker. For giving feedback, or this is how I monitor the students. I can move from group to group easily to see how the different groups are doing on their page. This one, I actually had the groups working on similar pages, but different tasks. So I could see how they were doing on the individual tasks. And I like to use sticky notes and emojis to give synchronous feedback, right? So here is a page where they were practicing paraphrasing. So they were to paraphrase this sentence using synonyms. Okay, so they started working on it and maybe they changed one of the words. Okay, and then another group maybe changed a different word. I said, okay, these are great ideas. Can we change even more words, right? Give young people work. And so here, this one was where it all kind of came together. And as they were working, I could put in an emoji using the add image tool. So again, let me share with you. That was add image. This one that looks like a picture of mountains. And here you could do a Google image search for thumbs up. Okay, and then click on that, insert. And they always pop up in the middle, which can get a little bit messy, but then you can click and drag and adjust the size. So if students are on the right track, I might give them a thumbs up to let them know, or I'll use sticky notes to give them suggestions or sometimes time warnings, right? If I want to let them know that we're running out of time, which it looks like we are running out of right now. So my final thing for after the jam, a lot of my students, because I've shared the link in the class, they don't keep that link. So sometimes I might want them to still have access, especially if it's a vocabulary practice or some grammar practice. So I might share the link with them again. If you do that, it's often a good idea to restrict access, so they then cannot change things. So you don't have to keep checking to make sure everything is fine. So again, the way you grant or restrict access, it's with the share button where it says get link, change to anyone with the link. And again, you can go between viewer and editor. So viewer restricts, they can view it, but they can't change it. The other thing you can do is download the jam. So that's up here in the kebab menu on Jamboard itself. You can download as PDF and then share that with your students. So I am going to try to share a link with you. If you want to go on to, I think this was the Unscramble activity. I believe that's the one I'm trying to share with you. So if you want to click on that and just play around with it a little bit, you can do that. But I think that's my 20 minutes. And now, Heather, is it time for questions, or is there more time to share a couple more things?
Let's see. I would say you have about 3 or 4 more minutes if you have some more tips you want to share, and then we can move to questions.
Okay, thank you, Heather. So I do want to share with you some of the more free practice activities that I've done with my students. So let's see, this one was students, it was a follow-up to an activity from our book. Students were talking about a gap year and what kind of gap year they might want to design. So I set this up and took the screenshot so that the whole group was working on the same page. Okay, sorry about that, Aisha. Let me try to share that again. Just the link to you guys. I think maybe I changed. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. All right. Okay, so now you should be able to see on here where people are starting to join with the animal icons. So you can see how many people are joining. Again, if you click on expand frame bar, you can see which page the people are on. So someone has moved to page 2, thank you. And again, unless your students are logged into their Google accounts, they're going to come up as anonymous animals. But that's okay. So again, this is one of the more free practice activities that I've done with them. So I set it up so that the whole group was working on the same page. And I gave them a sample and modeled for them how to add pictures, how to add text, how to add drawings. And my students really had fun with this and got really colorful and creative, and, were able to express themselves and communicate more about themselves and who they are. So that one was a really fun one I enjoyed. And this one as well, they were talking about childhood memories. So I had some instructions on the first page, and then they were able to add text and pictures and talk to their group, and then share together when we came back as a full class. So let me get back to our page. It looks like some of you are having fun with moving things around. So I hope, I created a lot of duplicates of the same 2 pages because I didn't know how many people would actually be attending. But hopefully you can see how it can be used. And I hope this has given you a little bit of confidence. I would say the best thing to do is just go in and play with it on your own. And, when you're using it with your students, make sure you give them some time to do that as well. Teach them how to do things on Jamboard, maybe teach them some digital respect and digital etiquette as well, if necessary, and have fun with it. So thank you very much for your attention, and I am happy to take any questions. So Brian, you're asking how to create groups. I would just create separate pages for the different groups and use it with breakout rooms in, so our online system was Blackboard, so we used Blackboard Collaborate, but Zoom breakout rooms, whatever online lesson system you have should have a breakout room function. And sometimes you can assign specific students to the groups, and you can set up the Jamboard to reflect that. If you have certain students that work better together or certain students that don't work well together, you could set that up in advance as well.
Great. We had a couple of questions from earlier, Jen. We had a question from Thomas asking about, is there an easy way to monitor individual student engagement for participation or the like?
Yes, that one I haven't figured out. I think if the students were logged into their Google account, I think you would see them, instead of anonymous. But again, if there are 3 students working on the same page, it's really hard to tell who's doing what. What I would do when I was using this is I would try to visit each of the breakout rooms, depending on how much time I had. So I can see, I can monitor what they're doing on Jamboard, but then I could also visit individual rooms to see who is actually talking and get some feedback from them and check on them that way.
Definitely. So you have sort of a general sense of participation on the Jamboard and then specific within the rooms.
Yes.
May I ask her a question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Like in these jumble sentences, do students have the chance of writing themselves, or they have just to move the words and write the sentence correctly?
Yeah, for this activity, I set it up as an unscramble, but you could also set it up. Let me share with you. So this one I did, it's a slightly higher level activity. They were actually writing or revising different sentences. I've done activities where they have to write their own thesis statements. This was a difficult paraphrase activity, but you could set it up so that they write their own sentences. Yes.
I'm asking about the one you were just showing, that the man is wearing a hat, etc.
Yes. So, this activity was set up for them to unscramble, but what you could do is say, give the instructions that after you've unscrambled the sentence, write a similar sentence using the same structure underneath.
My question is, suppose we are teaching our students to begin the sentence with a capital letter, to end it with a full stop. So these things are like allowed, like students are allowed to do that, or just they have to write it correctly. I mean, to join the sentence in a proper way, and that's enough.
Yes, so here in the directions, I've said they should use the pen tool to add capitalization and punctuation. So I would have taught them how to use the pen tool. I didn't have time to do that with you guys, but let me show you how that would work. So you could do this, the pen tool, like that. That's a very bad period. It's hard to make just a dot that's visible. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I
Thank
was a little
you.
confused about what you were asking. Thank you.
Excellent. We had one question that will probably be our last for today about what to do if students erase some of the content that's needed. For example, in this manipulation one, what if they deleted some of the words that need to be moved around?
Yeah, that's something that could happen. And again, it might be an opportunity to let's see. It could happen on purpose or it could happen accidentally. If it's happening on purpose, you feel like you can talk about digital etiquette, maybe just emphasize to students to be respectful to each other, try to create that atmosphere. If it happens by accident, you can, use the undo tool, or this is one of the times when, you as the teacher are monitoring things and, just kind of checking to make sure everything is working okay. So you just have to kind of keep on top of that.
Definitely. And I always have a rule that touching the clear frame rule, the clear frame button, if you don't mind pointing that out, that will erase the entire frame. So that's always a no-go area for my students. So that's an important sort of group rule to set up, that we don't ever touch clear frame.
Definitely.
Well, Jen, you have shared a lot of, as you promised, great time sharing tips. And I think a lot of people will also appreciate the chance to go back to the recording that is shared on YouTube to spend a little bit of time maybe working with Jamboard alongside some of the tips that you shared. So thanks for all that you offered our group today. And thank you, audience. Lots of great questions coming in and suggestions and tips from you all as well. I always learn not just from the presenter, but from those that are participating in the sessions as well. I shared in the chat let me pop this back up here real quick. I shared in the chat a link to some resources that the Electronic Village team put together last year about getting to know Jamboard, and as well as some other video tips and free resources there. So in addition to the great information that Jen shared today, there are some other resources that we compiled for you. And as I said, the recording of this session and many of the other live sessions from the Electronic Village are available now and will be added the rest of the day to the Call IS YouTube channel. And you can see that there in the screen share area. And the last thing I want to leave you with is I hope that I'll see some more of you in our last Let's Learn live session in about an hour. And that you've enjoyed learning with us in the Electronic Village this year. But I wanted to let you know that towards the end of the conference day today, in the chat I'm sharing it, if you would like to learn a little bit more about the Computer Assisted Language Learning Interests section and what we do and how you might get involved, maybe you want to present next year, maybe you want to volunteer with us, our open meeting is going to be today at 3:30 Eastern time. So you might have to do some time zone conversions for that. And it's going to be right here in the same Zoom room that we're in now. So hopefully we'll see many of you there at the open meeting, and you can think about some ways that you can contribute your knowledge and experience to the computer assisted language learning interest section. So with that, we'll close up here. Thank you again for attending, and I hope to see you around the EV during the rest of the day. Take care.